so now we're actually going to start looking at what happens when we click on a tab and we go to look at records. So the first thing I'm going to do is just click on leads, and you'll notice that it defaults to the most recently viewed lead. So you might not see anything in yours if you haven't actually looked at a lead record. But you can click on this, and almost always the first choice is going to be the all option, meaning you're looking at all of your records. So this list view implies that there are 15 leads here in this org, in this sample trailhead playground. And I always recommend that you open this filter on the side just to make sure that no one's messed around with or edited what we're looking at over here. So I would say these are all the open leads, because this is all leads and the lead status is does not contain closed. So obviously if they're not closed, they are open. So I'm good with that. I might want to make a little change and say I even want to see the ones that are closed. Let me see every lead that's out there. So what we'll do is we'll talk about taking first off this pick list here and making the filter change here. But if we change this and delete this filter, we basically have created a lie in the title here. All open leads would now be all leads, period, whether they're open or closed. So instead of making this filter change here, what I'm going to recommend to you is that you click on this gear tool and you clone this and rename it. And when I do an all list where I want every record, I usually do all caps with the all. That just tells me personally that that's going to be a completely unfiltered list. It's every record possible. So I'm going to say this is all leads, and if you wanted to, you could clarify. You could say open or closed, just as a note to yourself. You're also going to decide who gets to see this list. So you might say, oh, I'll let everybody take a look at it. The one thing about that is it can create a lot of clutter. So if other people don't need to see your list, it's probably best just to keep it as only I can see it. Just remember that down the road, if you're telling someone, hey, go look at this list, and you've left it with this checkbox, they're not going to see it. So you're kind of telling them to do the impossible. So it's easy enough. I'll show you how to change that later, but all you have to do at this point is click save. You might say, well, this is a required field. It's going to fill in this information in the API with no spaces. So I'm just going to click save here. If you tab, you're going to see what it does anyway. So I just tabbed to the next field and it auto-populated, but we could have just clicked save and it would have been fine. So I've created this thing that's all leads. Now this is the lie. This title is not accurate. You need to go over here and remove the filter of all of those that are closed. We want to get those into our view. And when I click save here, we go from 15 to 22. And what that tells me is some of these are the new ones that were closed, and I now have them in this list. So now I can switch back and forth. I have only my open leads that have 15 records. I have my leads that are open or closed together. And then you can actually use this little pin icon to say, all right, the one that I really want to see every time I pop in here are what are all of my open leads that I need to take action on until I can convert them. And that's the pin tool here. So the next time that I go out of here and I come back into leads, instead of seeing the default of recent leads, I have the list that I decided to pin. And you can change that quickly and easily. If you were saying, like, let's just look at today's leads and I need to work on today's leads specifically, you can just pin that, and then as you bounce around in Salesforce to different areas, when you come back, it's always going to show you what today's leads look like. And then at some other time you may say, I really need to see every lead in the org, and I'm going to go ahead and pin that one while I'm doing my work looking at all the leads and doing some analysis. So you have the ability to pin, you have the ability over here to clone, and we'll talk about some other changes that you can make also. So when you're in a list that you have created, you have control over which fields are visible, and you might say, I want to look at whether or not these leads have been converted, and I'm going to put that over in the viewable fields, and I'm going to move it up to the very far left column after the name. So when I do this, you'll see in the background it's name, company, state. So name, company, state, and I just moved converted up here. When I click save, Now I'm going to see whether these were converted or not. And so you can add fields or remove fields over here using the gear tool, as well as clone, as well as make a new list. We'll go through a couple of these other options, but I think having the ability to put in your filters and say, what am I looking for over here? Having the ability to pin your list, having the ability to change the fields that are here. If it's too cluttered and you can't read a bunch of stuff, but you don't need some of these fields, just go back in here and say, look, I don't really care about what state they're in. I really don't care about when they were created. I don't care who owns them. I don't care whether they're open by the owner or not. And then that'll give you a little bit more real estate here to actually read some of the longer fields. I hope this tutorial was helpful. Leave comments or ideas for videos you want us to make, and hit us with a like and subscribe to hear about new content we'll be releasing soon. Until then, we've provided some video recommendations at the bottom of the screen, and if you need more immediate help, you can book a consultation by using the link in the description, and we'll be happy to help you out.